What if I told you that the fastest growing sport on ice wasn't hockey or figure skating, but curling? In the United States, curling's popularity has been on the rise, and with the 2022 Winter Olympics starting, curling fever is about to hit fever pitch in the United States. But few people understand the rules of the game, how it's played and how it's scored. So with the Olympics coming up, what should we watch for when curling hits our TV screens? Taylor Anderson, a member of USA Curling, is going to join us to talk about the sport, from its rules to its scoring and how she got into it. That's all coming up right here, right now. I'm Sam Chen, and this is Face the Issues. Good evening and welcome to Face the Issues. I'm Sam Chen. Curling has been gaining popularity in the United States, and with the 2022 Winter Olympics coming up, it's going to hit fever pitch sooner rather than later. But few Americans understand the rules or the scoring of curling. So joining us tonight is a member of USA Curling, Taylor Anderson. Taylor, welcome to Face the Issues.
Hi, Sam. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Now, Taylor, just my background here, you are the 2021 reigning national champion. You also took gold in 2019 with two different teams. And the last 4 years, you have been either first or second nationally in curling. But this is not a sport, I think, growing up, I think most of us played every sport under the sun, right? You signed up for youth leagues, and most of us didn't sign up for curling. So tell us about your journey. How did you get into curling?
I think curling's been a part of my life since I was a little kid. My dad got me on the ice when I was 4 years old. My parents are originally from Canada, and it's pretty popular there. And I had older sisters playing the sport, which really inspired me to love it and get into it.
So did you do what all the other kids did? Did you play other sports as well in addition to curling?
Oh yeah, I was signed up for every sport imaginable. My mom had me in basketball, softball, soccer, tennis, golf, swimming, diving, everything. So
you mentioned your parents from Canada. Your father was your first coach, I believe. Mm-hmm. Was it really a family thing that got you to stick with curling, or was there something about curling that stood out for you against all those other sports?
Yeah, I think my dad really inspired me to get into curling. He'd take me out 8 a.m. Saturday mornings at Little Rockers. He always wanted to make it fun, always wanted us to learn new skills. And it was really about the club membership at the Philadelphia Curling Club. It was like a little family, and it's what made me fall in love with the sport.
Oh, that's so awesome. Now, you mentioned it being like a little family. How big was, at least at that point, how big was the curling community? I mean, were there a lot of other people your age curling with you?
Yeah, we had like a little junior program. I think at the time we probably had 20 kids. My dad helped run it. We had a great membership at the Philadelphia Curling Club. It's a small two-sheeter in Paoli, and it's where I just grew up curling and fell in love with it. The membership, I'm not current on the membership now, but I think back then it was probably around 200 people, but maybe don't quote me on that.
Okay. And just jargon-wise, you just said two-sheeter. Translate that into layman's terms for those of us who don't curl.
Sorry. So the sheet of curling ice is like our playing field. So we pretty much had like two fields to play on, which is a pretty small club compared to other clubs around the country.
Fair enough. And now, I mean, you compete internationally. How big is curling? You had mentioned it was big in Canada. How big is it outside the United States? Is this something where other countries have been doing this for a long time and has been popular for a long time?
Absolutely. Curling originated in Scotland, and it's really grown in the UK, Asia, even Australia, New Zealand have curling teams. So it's pretty popular in Europe. They have their own events, and we're lucky enough to go over there and travel and also compete against them.
You mentioned Australia, New Zealand. When you say that, Australia and New Zealand have curling teams. Visions of cool runnings in the Jamaican bobsled team come to mind. Is this big in down under? Are they competitive teams from Australia and New Zealand?
Absolutely. Australia has a mixed doubles team representing at the Olympics in February. So I'm very excited to cheer them on. But yeah, it's growing. I don't think Australia actually has curling ice. They have to fly to New Zealand to practice. So it is a little smaller community there, but they're still strong and competitive.
Oh, that is incredible, and it goes to show that if there's a will, there's definitely a way to get it done. Um, why do you think this has taken off in the United States? I mean, to your point, this has been popular in Europe and abroad, in Canada. Why has it taken off now in the United States, and why was it not as popular previously?
I think we do see it's growing. The clubs are popping up all over the country, California, Florida, getting a club in Nashville. So it is growing. I think the men's team winning gold at the 2018 Olympics helped jumpstart the surge of curling. It's also the most affordable winter sport out there, so it's very accessible. It's about building community and just really having some fun with some friends. So anyone can play it at all ages. It's like a golf. You can play it your whole life. So I think it's really accessible if you want to try it.
What is it that you enjoy most about it? I mean, you've done it your whole life, but what is it now in your mid-20s that you still enjoy about it?
I think I really enjoy the community we've built. Like I've grown up with the people I play with or against and have the opportunity to travel the world with my team. I'm very grateful for those experiences. And I'm just a competitive person. I love to compete, and being on the world stage or competing to try to go to the Olympics is an opportunity I'm thankful for and I want to keep chasing.
Yeah. And let me ask about that. I mean, you've been to 2 Olympic trials now, and you finished second this last time, and it was an incredible match. Talk to us about that process of going to the Olympic trials. Is it different from a different competition? I mean, are there more nerves to it? Just walk us through that process.
I think it was the most nervous I've ever been for an event. It just was something we've trained for the last 4 years. So I was super excited. And after my first shot, I remember the first shot in the hack, I was shaking and I was like, ooh, here we go. But after the first shot was out, I calmed down and just got in the zone and it felt a lot better. But it was a wonderful experience. I loved my team, the way we supported each other. I'm proud of how we competed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you couldn't tell that you were nervous, if that's any consolation.
Not
that I know what is going on when I'm watching this sport, but you couldn't tell that you were nervous.
Thanks.
Taylor, let me ask you this. You mentioned earlier with Australia that you said there was a mixed doubles team. Now, generally, curling is 4 of you, and I'm going to ask you the next segment about the roles and what each of you are going to do. But with mixed doubles, is it also four people? Like, what are the differences between having this team of 4, whether it's men's or women's, and then mixed doubles?
Okay, so for men's and women's, there's 4 people on each team, and they each get to throw 2 rocks an end. So that's 16 rocks total for both teams. For mixed doubles, it's a man and a woman being on a team, and there's only 5 rocks per end. So that total of 10 rocks for both teams. And the first, sorry, it's a little confusing, but the one per position throws the first and last, and the other position throws the middle 3.
Okay. If
that makes sense for mixed doubles. And for men's and women's, you throw in the same order every end, and everyone gets 2 rocks an end. Got
it. I imagine, though, that it's going to be a little different, right? I mean, when it's 4 of you, there's 2 of you sweeping. With mixed doubles, I mean, I imagine you're not throwing and sweeping.
Some people do jump up and sweep their own rocks. You kind of throw and get up and chase it. But for men's and women's, you have dedicated sweepers and you have 2 sweepers all the time. For mixed doubles, it's a little bit more complicated. Usually when one person throws, one person sweeps, or it's really how the team dynamic likes to work. If they prefer to hold the broom, mixed doubles, you're a little bit more flexible and creative of how you want to make your shot.
You've done both, right? You've done women's and you've done mixed doubles. Do you prefer one to the other?
I prefer women's. I like the support of a full team. I like having 2 sweepers and the strategy. In mixed doubles, it has a slightly different strategy with two stationary rocks at the beginning and the end. So it brings all the play to the middle, where men's and women's, you have no stationary rocks to start at the end.
Oh, that's so fascinating. And leads me to this question, and we heard from ignorant people like myself. You'll hear things like, oh, curling is shuffleboard on ice, or it's bowling on ice, in that you have to kind of watch where you're throwing, and the way that professional bowlers will tell you they're reading grease lines on the lanes and things like that. Others have said it's more like chess on ice, that there is a very mental aspect to curling, and it's not about how hard you throw, but others have described it as golf, where just because you can whack a golf ball doesn't mean that you're a good golfer. You actually do this sport. Are any of those analogies remotely accurate, or how would you describe what the feeling is like when you're curling?
Well, I don't think we love the relationship to shuffleboard. It's closer to golf and chess, I would say. Our skip is the pretty much captain of the team, and they're strategizing the shots. Like they plan like 4 shots ahead. They want to make the hardest shot for the other team. So it's a big strategy game. And it's kind of like golf reading a golf green, because we read the ice. There could be different curl paths on the ice. The ice is constantly changing with the speed and the curl. So it's kind of like reading like a golf green. You have to pay attention, and it's fine-tuned.
That's a lot more complicated than all of you make it look on TV. But Taylor, I really appreciate you breaking that down and sharing with us your story about how you got into curling. We're gonna go to the break. When we come back, I wanna ask you about the rules, the scoring, everything that a viewer is gonna need to know before they turn on the Olympics. So don't go away, we'll be right back.
Face the Issues is produced and recorded in the studios of Lighthouse TV. Positively different.
Welcome back to Face the Issues. My guest again is Taylor Anderson, a member of USA Curling and currently curling for Team Christensen. Taylor, welcome back to Face the Issues, and thank you again for taking the time to explain this fascinating sport that is really catching fever here in the United States. I want to ask you in this segment about what we should be looking for when we watch curling, especially with the Olympic Games starting. I think we're all fascinated by the stones and the throws and the sweeping. But what is the objective, and how are you scored in curling?
Okay, so there's pretty much 3 basic shots in curling. You can have a guard, which is above the house. Those rings that you're aiming for, we call it a house. There's a draw where the rock stops in the rings, and then there's a takeout where you hit your opposing competitor's rock out of the house. And the point of the end is to get your rock closest to the center to score, and only one team can score an end. In the Olympics, there's 10 ends, and each team gets to throw 8 rocks an end.
Okay, so you're trying to get as close to that center as possible. And so there's a defensive side to this, which is you may have to use one of your throws to take out one of your opponent's rocks.
Yeah, it's definitely a strategy game. You're trying to make your opponent throw the hardest shot possible, so you can set up a guard and kind of play some defense, and get a good strategy going to make them throw the harder shot. You don't want to leave them in a wide open hit, because 10 out of 10, they're going to make it.
So when I was watching you guys at trials, is this where you're oftentimes on your opening throw or early on, you're leaving a rock out in front of the circle?
Yeah, there's a free guard zone, so you're not allowed to hit the opposing rock until 5 rocks have been thrown. So you want to put that up, and they can't take it out. So it's a good setup shot for later in the end to help you score points.
That makes great sense. So now walk us through, you said each of you will throw 2 rocks. And so you're going to rotate through the different positions. But on every throw, all 4 of you are doing something. Can you walk us through what you're doing in each of those roles?
Absolutely. The one throwing gets to throw 2 rocks. Then you have 2 sweepers, and you have the skip at the other end calling strategy and line. And the sweeper's responsibility to communicate to the skip what the weight of the rock is like the speed, because it's all about the curl, why is it called curling? So if you want it to be the right speed on the right line to end in the right spot, if that makes sense.
Okay, and you just said, so there's a lot of communication, right? When we're watching,
Yes.
we hear people say clean, hurry, right off, whoa, like there's a bunch of calls that come out. And all of those things mean something to you guys. Is this the communication of how fast or hard you're sweeping and what direction the rock's going and so forth?
Yeah, it's not just our skip yelling at us for fun. We're definitely have a strategy and communication. The skip is communicating us the line, so they're telling us to sweep, to either keep it straight or help it curl. And the sweepers are yelling back, communicating the speed of the rock to make sure the skip knows where it's going to end up. So we're communicating speed and line, and sweeping can help it stay straight and help the rock go further.
All right, so that's the million-dollar question that everyone wants to know. Does sweeping actually help move the rock? And how does it do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be there working my butt off if it didn't do anything. Sweeping helps the rock stay straight, or at the end, you can help it curl over if you need it to move. And sweeping doesn't help it go faster. It just helps the duration of the length go farther.
Okay, understood. And there's no speed component to curling, right? You're not on the clock there's nothing that's timed about this that's rewarded.
We actually are timed. If you run out of time, you can lose the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we run off thinking time. So every time it's our time to throw, and we're not moving the rock, our clock is running. But once the rock is moving, our time stops. So it's called thinking time. Yep.
Got it. So the whole thing is timed, but you're not rewarded for a faster throw to the end.
No. We try to save time for our skip, so they're not rushing their shots. You're always trying to like accumulate your time so your skip can relax and make their shot in the end.
Understood. Taylor, let me ask you about the equipment that you use. For starters, the rock is heavier than I think most people realize. How heavy is the rock you're throwing?
The rock is 42 pounds of granite. They all come from one quarry in Scotland. And yeah, they're our backbone of curling. We love our curling rocks, and they're actually, each one's a little bit different. Before events, we have the opportunity to match them and match the curl and speed of them, because not one set of curling rocks are all perfect.
Oh, interesting. And so they all come from the same place, but they're all the same weight, but they have different, I don't want to say personalities, that sounds ignorant, but there's different dynamics to the rocks?
Yeah, so curling rocks have running bands on the bottom, and some of them can be sharper. So it can help the rock curl more. So that's called a cutter, or some rocks are straight. So usually or some rocks are slow, or some rocks can be fast. So you want to match them all into like pairs, so it's easier to throw your rocks similarly.
Got it. And do you have to choose which rocks you're going to throw before the match starts?
Depends on the event. You pretty much can get assigned a color or position in the practice. So if you have every curler, if you're good, you have a rock book. And so we keep track of our rocks all across the country, or different state, all across the country. So it's kind of like your curler's Bible. You want to know all the rocks and all the events and match them all. And you have night practice at night to have a perfect set.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. That is a lot more complicated than most people realize. So what other equipment are you using? Like, the rocks are different. Mm-hmm. What about the brooms that you're using? Are there different kinds for what you want to do on that throw?
No, we all have a select equipment brand we use. Our team's a hardline team, and so we love our hardline brooms. They work great. And so we're not allowed to use any other broom. It's at the beginning of the event, you get your broom taped up, and it's kind of it's illegal if you switch brooms with another person. So you have to keep your one lonely broom.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what you're doing as far as sweeping, that is completely dependent on your skill set. You don't switch brooms during that match.
No, in the past you were able to switch brooms and material, and it became too effective to have certain brooms that you could carve it too much. So they wanted to limit the technology on sweeping, so we all have the same pads and same material on our broom heads to make it more even.
And that seems to be a general trend, I think, among athletics. The same thing was done to swimming after the 2008 games, where they started backing off on what kind of swimsuits they were allowed to wear for that reason, to try to focus on the skill sets of the technology. So it's interesting that curling's doing the same thing. And then I think the other $1 million question, besides the sweeping help, is how do you not slip on the ice? Because you're not wearing skates, right? In all these other sports, they're wearing skates, but you're not. And you're walking, running in many cases on the sheet of ice. What are you wearing, and how do you not slip and fall?
Oh, I've fallen plenty of times, but
you have to tell us that, Ms. Taylor.
It's okay. It's probably on video somewhere, but they're like sneakers pretty much. And since I'm right-handed, my left foot's going to be slippery, and you can either have stainless steel or Teflon to help you slide. So when I'm sliding, that Teflon or stainless steel's gliding on the ice, and my other right foot would be grippy. But when I'm sweeping, I put a cover on my slippery foot, so it's like two sneakers.
Got it. Okay. So when you're throwing, this is why they're gliding down the ice after their throw, or as they throw.
Yes. So we're put all our weight on our sliding foot, and that helps us glide down the ice.
Got it. Understood. Taylor, and I appreciate you breaking this all down for us and explaining this. As Americans all over the country tune into the Olympics and they watch curling, what else should they be watching for to really understand the sport and get all that's worth?
I think a great part of it is having the athletes mic'd up. It's great listening to the team dynamics and how teams work together, and you get to know their personalities. I know Team Schuster has a lot of fiery personalities on their team, and excited to cheer them on. And how about the Peterson's team? It's great to watch their team strategy is really fun to listen to. It makes the game a lot more interesting if you're knowing what shot they're trying to throw. So just paying attention to what they're actually trying to do and makes you more engaged into the game.
Yeah, well, I think you certainly helped us become more engaged when we watch, now that we understand what we're looking for. So, Taylor, thank you so much for joining us. Again, don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Face the Issues. Taylor, thank you again for joining us. As we close out, just want to let our viewers get to know you, Taylor Anderson, the person, as opposed to Taylor the curler, a little bit better. And one of the interesting things within USA Curling is that you actually have several sets of twins that do this, including you and your sister, Sarah. And you're identical twins, from what I understand, as in if Sarah joined this interview, I would not have known this entire time. But what's it been like curling with your sister?
It's been an incredible opportunity. I'm grateful to get to play with my twin sister and with something we love. It's always been a goal of ours to represent and go to the Olympics together. We'll keep trying next time, but it's just a blessing that I'm thankful to have an experience to grow, just grow these memories together and get to represent Team USA together. It's just something I'll always be thankful for.
And you mentioned that your father is the one that got you both into curling and that your other siblings curled as well. Do they still curl? Is this still an Anderson family affair?
Yeah, curling's always brought up at the dinner table. We're a curling family. I'm one of 5 daughters, so we have a big family, and my sisters represented their team at nationals. They were great curlers. They curled at their university, and they still curl in the Philadelphia Curling Club in Paoli.
And how about you? You went to the University of Minnesota, and your sister did as well? Your twin sister did as well?
Yes, we both moved to Minneapolis together in 2014 to go to the University of Minnesota, and it was definitely a big climate change when we moved out to this cold tundra. I'm not used to it still.
Even though your sport takes place on ice?
It's only like 32 degrees on the ice. It's 0 degrees outside. That's
fair. Now, did you curl at the U?
No, the U has club opportunities, but I focused on the national team program that's based out of Minneapolis.
Yeah. And Taylor, as you've mentioned earlier, you and your sister both live in Minneapolis right now, but you are from Pennsylvania, where our studio is located. Pennsylvanians who leave, and Minneapolis is a beautiful place. I've been there. But Pennsylvanians who leave usually reminisce about Sheetz or Wawa. Being from the Philly area, I think I know what you're going to say. But how badly do you miss Wawa, and what is it about that you miss so much in Minneapolis?
Wawa's just a great home staple. Every time I land in Philly, I make sure to grab myself a hoagie. Maybe it's the bread, I don't know, the water we have. It's not the same out in the Midwest.
Is there anything similar in the Midwest?
They really like tater tot hot dish here. It's not my favorite, but I'm sure they have hoagie shops. I just haven't found my favorite yet.
All right, well, we'll have to figure out a way to get Wawa to deliver out there for you and Sarah. But Taylor, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you taking the time to break down the sport for us. And we are looking forward to cheering for you and your sister in 4 years at Olympic trials, but in all those years in between as well.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to watch the Olympics along with you.
Thank you. My thanks again to Taylor Anderson for joining us and breaking down this incredibly intriguing and complex sport. I also want to thank all of you for joining us and tuning in. And I hope you'll join us again right here next week. Until then, my name is Sam Chen. On behalf of all of us here at Face the Issues, thank you and good night.